Hey all, it's Matt here from Affirmation NFT. Apologies, I've been a little bit quiet of late. Been on a bit of a job hunt train that's taken me off track a little bit. But I just thought I'd give you a quick update today on a few different bits of work that I've been doing on the Hashgraph tools. For those of you that are following along, and just to provide you with some extra capabilities if you want to explore those as well. So where I left off last time was that I'd updated the minting script, and I'll just jump over to that as well so you can have a quick look at it. Um, and I've been putting in some extra keys down here, so kind of separating out these different routines so that you had essentially a different key for each purpose. So originally it was all set up under the operator key, which is fine and kind of worked. But if ever you needed to reset the key for that operator key account, you then kind of would need to keep a separate reference to that old key, and it would all kind of fall out of sync and get a bit messy. So I thought kind of following through on what would be a better and more a sort of practice aligned better to best practice would be to separate out these keys, differentiate them, have them as separate variables in your environment file. So that's what I did on the last time. And what I realized shortly afterwards is that I was coming up against some minting issues. So even with that in place, it didn't look right. Now, what I think was causing this was that I'd got essentially the transaction being signed with the operator key, and obviously as you put these in place, you actually need to sign these with the admin key and the treasury key as you're going through creating the token itself. And then further down, when you're actually creating or minting the NFT, rather, so this mint NFT token, you actually need to sign it with the supply key. So again, previously that was being signed with the operator key. I've updated that now, as you can see in the actual repo itself, and that actually works fine. So it will mint those tokens with those separate keys, and you can update those keys as well, with the exception of the admin key, because that kind of needs to be separate. That's the entire purpose of it. And I've got a couple of those routines that I've sort of laid out in scripts as well that I sort of want to show you today. So that was there. Obviously, I recorded that against the issues on the repo, which any of you are welcome to do with any problems that you come up against as well. So I've just for completeness, I've sort of said it's been corrected in this commit, and sort of give a brief description there too. So that's where we were. Where I was heading to from that really was then looking at resetting keys next. So for anybody that's used these scripts to date, you may have done the same thing that I've done. You've minted a collection with the same key throughout all of them, and you may want to go through and update those keys to differentiated keys. So the next thing I'd done today was to go, okay, well, let's have a look at doing a token update transaction and updating these keys for the tokens. So what we've got in place here is essentially a transaction that goes through, and it will look at the different keys that you've got in your environment file, and then it will look to sign the transaction with the admin key. So again, you'll have to keep the admin key consistent. And then we'll go through and actually process the transaction, get the receipt, and sort of spit that out for you as well. So that is an option that's open to you now. If you've gone through and used that previously, you can reset them. I've tested this on the testnet, works fine. Obviously go through that process yourself, and just make sure that you're comfortable with that. So token reset is something that it's untracked right now. I'm going to submit that straight after I've done this video, just so that's up in the repo as well, and you've got access to that. This is a sort of a test token ID that I've used, but you'll obviously need to put your token ID in there so that you can kind of run through and update the keys on it as well. The other bit of functionality that I've been working on today, again, I'll sort of submit this after I've finished this video, and so it's up in the repo for you as well, is burn-in tokens. So if you, again, like me, have been running through using these scripts, and you've amassed a whole wodge of dummy tokens in your test account you want to get rid of, or maybe you've done some on the mainnet that you want to get rid of, that you've since recreated or something like that, this script will actually go through and burn tokens for you. So what you've got here is same sort of concept and edit sort of section at the top, a token ID that you need to replace with yours in there, a serial array. You can leave that blank if you want all serials to be burnt, or you can specify certain values and set this to false, and then it will only burn specific serial numbers for you too. So I think it'd be quite handy if I sort of run through that for you and show you that on this video. And to do that, I'm going to mint some tokens, and then I'm just going to go through and I'm going to burn some tokens too. So I'll probably go through and do it twice, one for all of the serials, and then one for just specific serials that we want to delete, and then you can kind of see that working right as we go through it. So I'll jump over to the package JSON. I'm going to update this to be mint, so that we're going to mint some tokens to start with. I've just got through this spitting out just some dummy content for the token collection and a supply of 10 for just a single token. So it's just going to create one NFT with a supply of 10, so 10 identical copies if you like. So down to the terminal, hit npm start, let that execute. You can see it's utilizing the mint transaction, or the mint script rather. It's created this token ID here, which I'm just going to grab while it's executing. And then you'll see it should go through. There's no custom fees on this one. It's uploaded the assets over to IPFS, grabbed the CID for it, and now it's going through and it's going to mint those 10 NFTs that we've asked it to. And there we go, all 10 are done, and in a minute it'll just it'll wrap up that transaction and sort of bring this back to being able to execute something else. There we go, job done. So that's now a new token ID with, here we go, 10. I've grabbed this over here, 878. I'm going to go into the burn script now, and I'm going to paste in 878 there and hit save. And like I said, we'll go through this twice. This first time, I'm going to just get rid of all serials, so as if I just want to get rid of the whole token itself. And this one basically will go through, it will query the token information, it will spit out the total supply at the start, pre-burn. If all serials are being removed, we're basically going to loop through and build up a collection of all sequential serials, and then we're going to pass that into the burn transaction, sign it with the supply key again, and then execute that transaction. We're going to re-query the token again, and we're going to get the supply, and we're going to spit that out so that you can see that it's got rid of all of the NFTs within that. So okay, I think that's all looking good. I'm going to scroll down here, package JSON. We're just going to update that back to burn. Go over to here. I'm going to hit start on that. You can now see it's using the burn script. It was 10 before. It's going to burn all of the different serials. It was successful, and then it said after the burn it's 0. Okay, which is all well and good. That's looking fine. One thing that came to mind for me as I was going through this was, okay, well, that looks great. How do I know what's actually going on the network? So what I did for me is I came over to Dragonglass and I went onto the public testnet here, and I did a search for the token ID. It should still be on my clipboard in theory, but it was 878 for reference. And tokens, it sort of flicks up and then disappears, which is fine. But at the same time, I was like, okay, I want to see a bit more information here. So I'm just going to grab my operator account on this, and then I can do a search for the transaction that's gone through instead, and then you can kind of have a look at what that sort of looks like, so it doesn't just pop up and disappear. So we're searching for the account, go in here, I'm going to bring up the transactions, We can see here there's a burn transaction that's just gone on. So I'm just going to go to details there, and then I'm going to look at the raw transaction down here. So you can see 878 was the token that it's just done the burn for. And if I look at the raw transaction, you can see my operator account here. As we scroll down, we will get to the token ID, and then we start looking at the sort of burns that are going on. So that's 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. And you can kind of see then it's been successful. So that was my way of being able to then look at the sort of Explorer instead and just validate that that burn has worked successfully. So that's kind of gone through and worked okay for what we were trying to do. So let's bounce back quickly over to the Mint script, and we're going to recreate a new token because we've just killed that last one. Can't do anything else with that now. So I'm just going to mint another one for us to have a play with, and just pretend that in this case we don't want to remove all of the tokens. I'm just grabbing that ID while it's bouncing through it. It will go through and create the 10 the same as before, but maybe this time what we want to do is we want to burn just some of the cereals that are in there, not all of them. Don't know what the use case might be for that, but again, it's there for a reason. You know, you might have different purposes you want to use this for. That's minted all 10. It'll pop up when it's ready in a second. So I'm just going to jump over to the burn script. I'm going to pop in the new token ID that we're working with, and you can see the example that I've put in down here. So I'm just going to comment out that one. I'm going to uncomment that one. So I'm going to burn cereals 1, 5, and 10. There's no real reason for that other than it's just there already. I could add 6 in there as well for the hell of it if you wanted to. I'm not burning all cereals, which would essentially create that array above with all sequenced cereals in sequence in it. So I'm just going to hit false on that. I'm going to save the script. Then I'm going to change this back to burn on the package JSON, so that's what it executes. And then we should be good to go here. It's going to go through and burn those 4 specific cereals. So what we would expect is the total supply would be 10 to start with. Then it will do the burn, and then it should be 6 that are left at the end. So all being well here, when we hit start, that's what we should see. So you can see it's 10. It's burning those 4 serial numbers. Total supply is 6 afterwards. Okay, so that's all good. We've essentially gone through, we've created a token using the new differentiated keys, and that works fine. As I said at the start, we've then gone through and we've burnt all of the cereals within a token in case we just want to, get rid of it entirely. And then in this latest example, we've gone through and we've burned specific serial numbers, and you can see, like I've got on the screen here, that there was 10 at the start. We've burnt 4 of them, and then we've got 6 left afterwards. So that kind of gives you that capability then of being able to mint, reset keys if you wanted to, and burn tokens if you want to as well. That was, for me, a little bit of an exercise in just completing the cycle of both being able to create a resource like an NFT, but also go through and clean it up and sort of burn it if you needed to as well. I hope you found that useful, and we'll see what comes up next in terms of what I'm going to look at with these scripts. I'm quite keen to look at some of the smart contract work that's going on, so I might jump over to that a little bit and have an explore. But if there's anything that you guys are keen to see in action as well, then feel free to drop a comment on here too, and I'll sort of see if that's something that I can explore and provide you with an example of. Once again, it's Matt here from Affirmation NFT. I hope you guys are all well, and I'll catch you again soon.